how one should conduct a research or a market research to be precise, to understand their customers, understand their competitors, right? Understand their industry, how one can do that. And any software tool that you would recommend related to that email marketing channel, as you mentioned about the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? But for email marketing, any specific tool or a software you would recommend?
Some names of YouTube channels where there is a speaker whom I used to follow, and his name was
So tell me more about yourself, like how you land up to this role as a business development manager or an associate.
in October 2020. I joined as a business development associate, obviously full time, for Byju's. I see that they have seen a downfall now, but I started my career from there. And if I talk about sales, Byju's was the organization which actually brought me up here, where I'm standing now as a business development manager in a big IT company, Jungle Works. I'm working for a product named software named Jugno, and we provide B2B software solutions. We provide Uber clone application to people almost, and we are live in almost 30+ countries now. It was tough initially because if I talk about Byju's, yes, initially there was a lot of pressure, and me coming out of college directly and joining an organization and coming to a corporate world where I was not at all aware about what happens here. So that was a big step for me, which I took. And I think from there I started growing. And today I'm here. If I talk about my journey as a manager in Jugno, so it's been 10 months here. And the revenue, if I talk about which I have achieved, it's almost $70K. And which is a big milestone for me, as in the journey here in Jugno. Initially, there is no one who has achieved such a big milestone over here.
Tell me, like, what is business development? If someone is listening for the very first time about business development, so what this term resonates with?
So mostly if I talk about business development, there are people who confuse it with sales representative. Yes, definitely it's a role of sales, and definitely there would be sales, but it's the approach which I always keep while I am reaching out to my customers is I reach out with the approach of business consultant. So for me, business development role is more of role about a consultant who is just helping out businesses, to automate the entire process which they have been following now, like of getting taxis booked. And now when the market where Uber has occupied almost 90% of the market in India, it's really difficult, not only in India, even outside India. If I talk, they have occupied a good amount of market even outside India. If I talk about Uber, and there are competitors like Bolt, Lyft, and other competitors are also there. So over there, sales, just going out to the customers and just pitching out my software was not helping me out in cracking sales. But while I changed my approach, I started approaching business owners just as a way while I started understanding the role of a business development, that it's just not that my KPI to get a customer onboarded. My KPI is also being a consultant and providing the customers with the right set of solutions. So as soon as I changed my approach here, I started achieving milestones. So what I would like to add is not to get confused with the roles. If you are getting into the role of a business development associate, you should know the product and service in and out so that you approach the customer more like a consultant. The customer should feel that yes, you are helping them out, and it would help you grow in your career as a business development associate. So that's what business development means for me.
Got it. So could you please describe me your day-to-day work life, like how your day starts with this business development, right? When you start working, that's maybe at 9 or 10 in the morning, how your day-to-day work life?
If I talk about my current company in Jungle Works, we have different shifts allocated to different associates. So my shift starts at 12 noon and it ends by 12 night, because I have to deal with people not only in India but also outside of India. So there is a huge time zone difference if I talk about, and I have to be available 24/7 because I don't know when a meeting comes up, and I have to keep myself prepared with all those things. If I talk about my office KPIs, my work KPIs, so we get inbound leads where people sign up on our website. approaching us for our software solution. We understand the pain points of the customers, and according to that, I have to provide them solution. So recently, I'll give you an example. I recently got in touch with a client from Poland, and the client doesn't speak English at all. He only speaks Polish. The client was very, very good, as he was doing almost 2 lakh rides per month, which is a big amount for us over here. The only thing which I had in my mind when I reached out to him was that I have to get him in. That was in my mind. So I started using translation on WhatsApp. I translated what I have to deliver to him. I translated those things in Polish. And from there, the client came here to India to visit us, from Poland to India, and the deal is almost done. So it's a closed deal now. So these are the little KPIs which we have to follow. Sometimes what happens, we don't take that extra mile. Like, I should have just given up. Like, why should I translate? If I could have just told that, no, we can only speak English and I can only speak English, I could have just missed that deal by then. But the translation, the going extra mile helped me and getting a good client onboarded. So these are the things. Like in sales, in business development, yes, you have to go extra mile every time to get a growth in this career.
So now tell me more about it in business development field. Like, let's say if I were to be a business development associate or a business development manager, right? So what is my work would be, right? Let's break it down over here. Let's say first I have to target prospects or the potential customers, right? I have reached out to them. So for that, I have to do a market research or a competitor research, right? And after that, we have to start generating leads by reaching out to those potential customers. Right. So give me a breakdown of this.
So the very first thing is, as I told, you have to know your product and service very well before you're reaching out to a customer. And you have to be, very regular with your follow-ups. In business development, there would be failure 99% of the times you would fail, but there would be one good prospect which you could generate if you are good at follow-ups. Let's suppose if I'm generating 10 prospects a day, the chance of getting a prospect onboarded would be just 1. And sometimes not even a prospect is getting onboarded. So it's just that, yes, I also get demotivated at times when I give my 200% and I'm not able to achieve my desired targets. To keep going, it's you just have to follow the sales cycle very well to be good at business development, starting from generating leads to converting them to prospects and then finally getting them onboarded as a client. It's a huge process. Sometimes it takes a day, sometimes it takes 15 days, and sometimes it may take a month or so.
And you have just mentioned a one word. What is inbound? Just for the viewers, I just want to know what is inbound leads.
So inbound leads is something when the lead himself is reaching out to you to know more about your product or service. And outbound is when you find out leads maybe through different channels. It can be Google, it can be Yelp, or any other channels. You just find out leads, you keep on mailing them, calling them, or even generating a prospect is very rare there. But in inbound, the good thing is that the customer himself has reached out to you. They already know about your product and service. It's just that if you can understand their pain point and give them a solution according to that, the deal is halfway done already there. It creates a huge difference between outbound and inbound. You have to work more hard for outbound cycle, but here in inbound, if you understand the customer very well and what are his requirements, the deal is already done.
And could you please explain about the process of market research, how one should conduct a research or a market research to be precise, to understand their customers, understand their competitors, right? Understand their industry, how one can do that?
To understand the market, the very first thing is if you know about as I am currently dealing with mobility solutions. So I know that the best set of customers for me would be the one who are involved in the travel agencies. So the very first step is I would start generating leads from, nowadays I can take help from LinkedIn Navigator as well to generate leads for myself. Then understanding their business properly, like what are their offerings, the offerings that they offer to their end customers, and providing them with proper solutions. Here, the only thing in outbound, or when you are reaching out to a customer by your own, the only thing which helps you to generate a good prospect is if you start writing good mails. Nowadays, we have ChatGPT. If we are able to provide the proper command to ChatGPT, it generates good email for us. So the very first thing to generate to if you want to start generating leads is you can try email marketing. That's the best thing which will work for you in outbound sales.
And any software tool that you would recommend related to that email marketing channel, as you mentioned about the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? It is good for the prospects if we have the prospects on LinkedIn, right? So it's a better place. But for email marketing, any specific tool or a software you would recommend?
For now, I myself have not used any software yet. It's just that we keep on mailing, or I try to find out different channels to reach out to them. Sometimes I find their LinkedIn profile. Sometimes I can find them on Twitter. So I try reaching out to them via different channels if I'm not able to make a connect via email. So for now, as far I have not used any software, these are the things which helps me in generating prospects. If I have dropped a mail today, I'll take a follow-up maybe after 2 days, but I will have to drop a follow-up email so that I am on the mind of the customer that yes, this person from Jugnu reached out to me.
Fair enough. Understood. Okay, so now, tell me more about the skill set that one should acquire to land up in this role, right? So what are the skills that one needs to develop when they are in college or maybe they are just graduated, right? So that helps them to get a good job.
Yeah, so the very first thing is your communication skills, how you are able to communicate with person around you. Like even in colleges nowadays, there are many such activities where the college involves their students. So they can start involving themselves maybe through extempore or take a step to start communication, like where they can, nurture their communication skills. The very first thing which is required in business development. To keep going, you have to keep yourself motivated because there, as I told while the session started, that 99% of the times you would be hearing a no, but there would be 1% chance where a customer would come up to you and say that, yes, I want to know more about your service. And I think that is enough. When a customer is asking you, when a lead is approaching you, is gaining interest in what you're offering, you can use your communication skills there to communicate with the customer, to understand his problem, and very good knowledge about the market in which you plan to go for. These are the 3 things.
Got it. And how one can develop their communication skills? Could you please list out some of the resources or some recommendations related to any podcast and so on and so forth, so that one can develop the
coming out of college, definitely colleges over here, while we are along with our friends, we prefer speaking in Hindi more, and that's where our confidence goes low when we come to, which happened with me as well, when we come to a corporate world and we have to start conversing in English. What happens over there is we don't feel confident enough. We feel underconfident to deliver what we want to speak. So for that, I would recommend reading more novels. Nowadays, we have good series to watch on Netflix so that you can develop your vocabulary at least, so that you can start, creating sentences and delivering what you want to deliver. What helped me was, reading novels and watching good series with subtitles.
Got it. Spoken English classes are, I believe, are the good kind of resources that one can, land up to and, develop their communication. So I believe it's a good thought process as well. And there are so many applications today itself, like Duolingo, right? And there are many other applications. Now, once people are interested with the products and service, how do you manage those all leads? Because you don't have like 5 to 10 leads, you have enough number of leads, enough database. So are you using any kind of customer relationship management tool or any software in that sense that would help you in managing the leads?
Yes. Currently, I'm using a CRM, which is Freshworks, to manage the leads, which helps me in channeling whether a lead is a good prospect for me or not. So they have, we can divide the leads into different stages. So whenever the demo is done and the proposal is already presented, I know that is a good prospect for me. And from there, I send them via WhatsApp. I do regular follow-ups until and unless I get them. Freshworks does 50% of the work for me in channeling the leads. And before Freshworks, I had used Lead Square, and it also did a great job for me.
Right. So what are the software or tools I need to learn beforehand so that when I mention it on my resume, I would have a great chance of having an interview person?
So for a fresher, the very first thing, profile, business development, the company's profile where he is applying for, he has to understand about the company very well, and he can mention few points on his resume related to the skills that the hiring recruiter has asked for. They have to know about some customer engagement tools like Freshwork is there, like Lead Square is there. They have to do a proper R&D on these CRM tools to understand, and which would add a good value to their resume if they have a knowledge on this. Because reason being, the company won't have to train the employee much on using such kind of tools. So these few things, if they mention on their resume, the chances of getting hired.
Understood.
It's just that if you're applying for a profile, maybe if I give you an example of Jugnu, if you plan your career here in Jugnu as a business development associate, it's just that you should know what Jugnu offers, and you must have seen while you were applying for the job, that what is the hiring manager looking for, and accordingly they can build up a resume which can add value, and which also makes the chance of getting hired higher.
Talk about something related to the students. Are there any kind of a projects they could make, right, that would help them in landing this role?
Yeah, definitely there are very few remote opportunities, or no remote, because I don't see any remote opportunities nowadays after lockdown. So what I can suggest is, whatever their interest is, if it is business development or if it is marketing or anything, they can always try freelancing, which will also help them in brushing up their knowledge, knowing more about the role. This will help them in understanding the role very well. What happens if they get hired full-time? What happens after that? This will also help them understanding the entire cycle. So they can always go for freelancing. And I don't think for a student, it would be really difficult to manage 2 to 3 hours on a daily basis. And if they are able to manage 2 to 3 hours, freelancing is a very good option nowadays.
Understood.
Even I started my career as a freelancer.
And is there any kind of a difference in terms of lead generation between a B2B industry and a B2C industry, right? Because I believe there might be few differences between those two things, right? Approach would be different. I think
Yes, there is a huge difference in B2B and B2C when you are offering your services directly to your end customers. So there you have to have a understanding of the market, about the customer individually, like what are the things that they are looking for, and you have to deal with the end customer directly. And if I talk about B2B, it's easier to generate leads because you have different channels to reach out. And in case of B2C, there are very few channels through which you can reach out. There is only one channel you can reach out to the customer, that is via calling. In B2, if that is the case with B2C. And in B2B, you have different channel. You can find their profile on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to them via email, which you can also do in B2C. But what happens, even I get many mails from different banks or different service providers providing credit card services or anything. Even I ignore those mails. So yes, lead generation in B2C is very, very difficult. There has to be a different approach. And that is the reason in B2C, the sales cycle would also be very, very big. If the sales cycle is 1 month in B2B, it may take 3 to 4 months in B2C. That's what I feel. Because even in Byju's, it was B2C, but I was getting inbound leads. So it was not difficult for me to generate leads in Byju's because they were having different marketing channels. They were getting their own leads generated through that. So you can try digital marketing if you want to generate B2C leads. It's in digital marketing. It's just that you have to understand the audience and you have to make use of the correct keywords. And digital marketing is booming these days. So for B2C customers to generate leads, digital marketing would be the best fit, which would.
Yeah, I believe right, because like Facebook ads and Google ads, YouTube ads, Instagram ads are the great way to showcase your product or a service to the people, and the people who are interested in those products and services will directly get in touch with you through you can submitting the queries, right? And this again works as an
and then you can filter. Yeah, and from there you can filter which can be a good prospect for you.
And I believe in D2C kind of thing, organic content would also play a huge role, right? Where the people who have produce content for different social media platforms, and people can reach out to it. How important is for the people to understand the sales and negotiation skills, right, or develop those kind of skill sets?
Negotiation is something which you get to know at the very first call, if I am calling a customer, after understanding his use case, I would get to know, after understanding his requirement and after speaking to him for 15-20 minutes, I would get to know that this is the customer who is going to negotiate with me. So in the very first call, you have to create the value of the brand of the service which you are offering, so that while the customer starts negotiating with you, you can have good counter to offer to the customer, and which would make the negotiation work much easier for you. So building up the connect at the starting from the very first call is very important.
And what is the importance of offers, right? Because I heard that term offers plays a very huge role. People usually say, make me an offer that you can't refuse, right? So how important is to create an offer that people would able to refuse?
So offers, as I told you, like if I understand the pain point of my customer, I would know that yes, this is something which he requires and I have it on my software, I have it on my product. I'll create an offer according to that. And I think that would be a deal, which will help me in getting the customer onboarded, because that was something which he was looking for and which I think I have already offered him. So offers, if I talk about in terms of pricing, there is nothing such that. It's just that if you understand your customer well, if you understand what are the issues he has been currently facing, and yes, if your software can play a good role in sorting his issues, he would definitely go for your product. He won't ask more on negotiation. He won't ask more on offers, and you can create an offer according to. Now, let's suppose for me, what I face now, the main issue what I face nowadays is, even after charging some amount of subscription from the customers on monthly basis. Let's suppose if we are charging $60 for 500 rides, and if the customer is exhausting 500 rides, we charge 12 cents for all the additional rides that he makes. So I can offer the customer that, okay, after 500 rides, we won't charge you 12 cents. We can charge you 5 to 6 cents, and maybe that can help me in getting the customer onboarded, because he is doing good number of rides, and it would also be a good deal for me as well as for the customer. So he won't refuse.
Got it. So the customer would have a better chance of having retention for a longer period of time. Understood. So are there any courses or certifications that one can have when they are in college, or just pass out from the college? So any courses or certifications you recommend?
But I recommend seeing the market now, having the understanding of the market now. While these students are in their college, they have good amount of time. They can take a course for 3 months or 6 months from Coursera or Udemy. They can have knowledge on digital marketing, which will not only help them in getting leads, but also will help them in making a career in digital marketing. They can work as freelancer, they can work for projects, and get them good leads. So digital marketing is one which I would recommend.
And any kind of challenges that you have been facing like for a period of time while in this role, right? Any challenges that you face occasionally or maybe most oftenly than you? Yeah, please elaborate.
Yes. So as I started my career in B2C industry and then I shifted to B2B, the challenge which I was facing was, while if I talk about my previous job, over there I would just have to understand the product, and I had to deal with students, just have to offer my services. But here I have to understand the software properly. Here I have to know every technical aspect of my software. So me being a commerce student, I don't have much knowledge in the technical. The challenge which I face is understanding the technical field, which I think I have developed in the past 10 months. I have made myself educated with the tech stack of our software. So the challenge which I face, there are many times where I come across to clients who are technically sound and who want to know the software technically. So to deliver them the right set of knowledge, I myself have to know the technology very well. So this is the challenge which I am also facing now, like day to day, but I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, because when people, do their graduation and they don't do their graduation from, let's say, engineering, right? And it might be difficult because today most of the products are app-based products or tech-based or basically website-based products, right? And in that scenario, I believe one should have an understanding of their product inside out, right? They understand their product, they know well about their product and the services the company are, pitching to their prospects and clients. Any kind of a book or any kind of like books you would recommend for people to understand, sales, understand business development?
In place of books, I would recommend them videos on YouTube, which they can refer to, which in educating themselves in this field rather than books. Because what I feel is, if you visualize and listen to something, it stays on your mind for a longer period of time rather than reading something. So this is the only thing which helped me as well in building my career. I used to watch YouTube videos. I used to watch videos related to sales and marketing to understand.
Any specific channels would you recommend for YouTube videos? You mentioned YouTube videos, like one can watch videos related to that and they can acquire huge skill sets, right? Like name of any YouTube channels would you recommend?
Okay, so some names of YouTube channels where there is a speaker whom I used to follow, and his name was Patrick.
Mhm.
So he has uploaded good videos in his channel. They can watch Patrick Dang's channel, and there are good amount of videos which will also help them in developing their communication skills and understanding the business development role very well.
Yeah, Patrick Dan, I believe, Jeremy Minor. I've also watched like few of the YouTube channels, like Jeremy Minor is one of them. Alex Hormozzi, I believe he is one of the finest persons. I have read a lot of books he has written, and it gives me a deep insight related, yeah, related to 100 million offers. The another book is 100 million leads. So these two books give me a new perspective of how one can generate leads for B2B, B2C kind of a business, how one can, create their offers so no one can refuse. Yeah. So I believe I linked all these channels in the description so that one can watch it. So like I have almost asked all the questions to you, Radhika, and it's been a pleasure for me to having you as a guest and, giving a deep insights related to the business development.
Okay, it was pleasure connecting with you, Arunya, and I hope we reconnect and I get to share my next steps in the journey. And I hope it helps your learners as well to know more about the field, about the do's and don'ts. And I hope they get themselves on the career and they actually do good using the tips and tricks which we have been talking about in the entire session. Thank you.